Tonight, on the last Wednesday edition of Upfront, we turn our attention to the private sector, that much-touted engine of growth of the Ghanaian economy, and ask how businesses are fared in the year under review. I am particularly excited to be doing this with a man who is in the thick of affairs when it comes to businesses in the Republic of Ghana, and has been doing this with different sectors for the past 15 years. Michael Leslie Bartlett-Vanderpuye is the group chairman of Msc Global. You're welcome, sir. I hope you are doing well this evening.
I'm doing quite well.
I understand it's difficult to get you out of your comfort to actually come out and talk about how businesses are doing in this day, but we are very privileged to have you today, and we are excited to have you join us. I'm particularly excited because, it's been a difficult year for most people, but for businesses, how's 2022 been like? And for businessmen like you, how's the year been like?
Well, good evening to your listeners. What you should expect is it's already expected that this post-COVID, and it's already predicted that during the post-COVID, things are going to be tough. And the Ukraine-Russian war or Russian-Ukraine war didn't also help.
Okay.
So obviously, we already knew that we're going to a tough 2022, and it played out. We just thank God that we're able to survive because a lot of businesses are folded up. And it's not only Ghana or Africa, it's across the globe. You know, we are in different sectors, so we're able to speak when we say it's across the globe.
Okay.
Happening everywhere. Even Dubai, that touted itself to be a free zone, is now charging VAT and putting income tax and everything. So it's taking over, it's no more a tax haven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can see that the impact of the COVID and all this Russian-Ukraine war and other factors, it's been a tough time for any business.
You know, that's been a big debate in the Republic of Ghana, whether or not that's the cause of our problems. But, you do not only run businesses here in Ghana.
Yeah.
So you might have a better panoramic view of what's happening across the globe.
You see, what you have to understand is that Ghana is not in isolation.
Okay.
We do international trade, we do international business. So obviously, what affects the international market is going to also affect us. So, you know, maybe the context in which it was put, but to be honest with you, even inflows were not even coming in compared to the previous years. When you look at some industries, you see the income that comes in by way of foreign direct investment. This year has been very low.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's across the globe. Anyway.
Now, MSc Group Global, is this year, 2022, celebrated some 15 years of operation of its flagship, the Management Consult. From where you sit, how did it all start for a 15-year-old company with so many outlets, not only in Ghana, but other places too? And when you happen to have celebrated 15 years, in a year like 2022, how was it like?
You can imagine. So you could add the 15 years for a 41-year-old gentleman.
Yes, that's true.
So that tells you how many years we've been in existence. You know, when you have a dream is an idea. It comes in, you need to nurture it to grow it. You grow your dream through thick and thin, through different terrain, but you still have to keep going. MNC Management Consult started in one of my small rooms in the hall. You know, back in the day, you go to Melcom, you buy this decks. Most people didn't have laptops. We had this desktop, so they had some sort of like an office stuff. What do you need to do? Register your company and put it out there in your hall as the registered company. Now, my friends were my first clients because, you know, in audit, you do tax, you do advisory, you need clients. So my friends were my first clients, and they actually recommended me to other people, and then the dream started nurturing. It's been a very top 15 years, but it's been very rewarding because I look back and I'm like, wow, it's 15 years already. And with determination, I had a dream of just having a conglomerate, but its head office is in Ghana, but offices across the globe. And that was my whole vision. So after setting up the 4 key businesses under MNC Management Consult, I decided to now venture into different areas to be able to have our presence and to sell Ghana, to make clients rather do businesses with us there rather than traveling all the way down here.
Now, you are particularly relevant to this conversation because of key things. You do not do just one area of business, all right? Of course, beyond the consult, there's also MSc Properties. That's also like a real estate area.
Yeah.
Yes, you also do energy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also there is logistics and trading. Now, let me start with the real estate industry. There's been a lot of talk about how, these times, cement, building materials have been very difficult to purchase and all of that. In 2022, did that industry really blossom?
No. In 2022, it was a very tough period. Even people are not able to pay rent, don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people are not able to pay rent. And you know, in Ghana, my problem, in fact, not only Ghana, in Africa, we underutilize the land.
Okay.
Because of our culture, everybody wants to own a piece of.
Yeah.
Rather than having like this snakes kind of buildings where you can buy apartments and live in, everybody wants to buy its land, everybody wants to build their own. And you know, the property companies take advantage. They give you affordable housing, but what is affordable housing? The term affordability to who? That's the question you need to ask always. And secondly, this time around, it's very difficult to even see. I said it's difficult to even get people to rent. How much more to get people to buy? The economy is so tough.
Okay,
so you can imagine. So this year hasn't been a good year for anybody in real estate, and I can speak for myself and speak for a few of my colleagues.
Is it because the buildings are expensive, or it's just because the environment has not been friendly to the real estate industry?
No, the thing is, you see, cost of building materials. They keep going up, and we import most of them. You understand? We import most of the materials that we use. So
even with locally made cement and all of that?
Locally made cement. Cement alone doesn't build.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what you should know. Cement alone doesn't build. Because, you know, you can do brick and mortar. You can do cement. But at the end of the day, it's the beauty, the finishing that brings out the beauty. We don't produce any of those things here. We import them.
Well, that's serious.
Like lights and all those things. We need to import all those things. So, in effect, it has direct impact. You understand me? So, definitely, when you build, you also want to sell. So maybe you have let's say about a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, townhome going for $150,000. How many people can afford it? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You understand?
I get
so
you.
Build.
But do you? You sit at the top of a business. Do you care about these things? How many people can afford it? Do you care about those ones? Or to you have a certain high-end level of clients that you are serving. So as for what people can afford, it might not be a big deal.
No, it is. Let me tell you, if you're a smart business person, you look at the target market. The wider your target market, the wider your reach, the better, more successful you become. Because when you just narrow yourself to just a very niche, the niche group, your smaller group, okay? When you feed the niche group and you're done, what happens to the rest?
That's interesting.
You should have properties or proposals for the niche, for the middle class, and also take care of the lower bracket.
I see.
Yeah, but even taking care of the lower bracket is like giving back to society.
When you sit with your colleagues and friends and speak to government, do you get the impression that we will have affordable housing soon, anytime soon?
Well, the affordable housing, I think we have had some times past.
Yeah.
But the question is how.
But even those, they do not fall within because the definition of it is spending less than 30% of your income on housing.
Yeah, but I don't see it coming into fusion, because when you look at the cost of what they're selling, I'm looking at the salary that people take from government and stuff like that. And the banks are not willing to extend any facilities without any collateral or any. Then how then can an ordinary Ghanaian afford that kind of house?
I'm asking this because we have drummed it home since the first, Fourth Republic first government. We've been consistently saying that our vision is to build affordable housing. And we have tried with Saglebi. We have tried with the state housing project. We have tried across the country, some which took almost 20 years to try and even get to completion. I mean, for those of you who do it on the daily and actually put up buildings, there's a question that's important. Can anybody think of affordable housing in East Legon?
No, you don't. When you talk about East Legon, you don't talk about affordable housing. You know, you have to look at the locations. Those are prime areas.
Yes.
You understand me? Affordable housing, you're looking outside Accra, like you mentioned Saglame. You can have affordable housing there. And you see, when we're able to do our network, the road network properly, nobody wants to stay in Accra. Accra is already choked.
All right.
And Accra lands are very expensive. East Legon, you're talking about a plot, you're looking at about $150,000 to $200,000. How many people can afford it? That's just the plot.
Yeah, before the building.
Yeah, before the building. So, and you wouldn't want to go and put just some ramshackle building in East Legon after buying a plot for $250,000.
That's true.
Yeah. So don't mention East Legon, don't mention certain areas. Let's look at, let's get outskirts. And for me, affordable housing, they should create in such a way that they will be able to get the people to get in. It's not about, you see, when you're dealing with the military and the security agencies, when they build, they assign it to you. And they take it from you. So there's discipline. But public sector, everybody wants, oh, I don't like this one, or I want this.
Specifications.
You know, so it becomes very difficult. And if government even goes for a loan to put it there, in the long run, they'll default.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think affordable housing, let's continue the debate.
You don't think it will happen anytime soon?
Yeah, you see, until we change this policy whereby this government comes and says that this one started, I will not continue.
Okay.
So I'll wait for another year for another group to come. Look, when you build and nobody lives there, the cost of renovating it is far more than what you built with.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's why sometimes when we complete a house, I don't know whether it's a spirit or what. Somebody has to live there. Otherwise, the house will just look old.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
No, but, I mean, I see a lot of empty houses, some of these very big housing projects across the country, and nobody lives in for a very long time.
But when you get in, you realize that most of the gadgets, the house doesn't even feel welcoming. Yeah, so before you get in, you have to do a renovation again.
Oh, I
so
see.
most people who do, they do it up to a certain stage. When somebody buys it, then they complete it. That's the wisest way to do it.
Oh, I see.
When you complete everything and nobody takes it 6 months, look at it, it looks like an old building.
If government were to help businesses, would businesses be able to put up housing that's cheap?
I think government should partner with private sector because they are on the market and they know what the needs of the people are. But I'll believe that, for instance, if you're dealing with, let's say, TUC, they have, or this CLOSAC, or this...
the trade unions,
Trade unions, they have, they are a union. So when you deal with the leaders, they can bring their members, you look at their salary structure and build and spread it over a period.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think that should be able to work.
Now, there's a question I have to ask about how pricing is done in this country and how people determine the price of the big ends. How come facilities that are unoccupied for years still have its price appreciated?
Yeah, because property appreciates every day.
Really?
Yeah, because for instance, when I built the house, let's say at East Legon Hills, maybe at the time I was building it, there was no road. There was no road network, the road wasn't tarred, there were no gutters, there was no water. You know, these amenities determine the value of the property.
Okay.
So with time, you realize that the road network is done, that drainage system is done, there's water, there's electricity. Of course, the value of the property will shoot up.
But that has nothing to do with the
building
and the status of the person who built the house anyway. In fact, those are just provisions of the state mostly.
Yes. Of course, but you know the properties appreciate with time.
Okay.
The best investment is to put in property. That's why when people want to go on pension, what do? They build about 10 units of 1 bedroom, and they be collecting rent from it every time to live on. Once in a while, they paint it, and that's it.
Now, Msc Energy, what does it do?
Msc Energy, we deal in oil, downstream, and then we do in crude, AGO, and stuff. We facilitate. It's more like a facilitator. So we deal with companies in Nigeria, and then BDCs and OMCs here. We lead them together, and we take our commissions. But then we have our own oil brand, which is under registration, which we want to bring on the market. But I see there are so many of them in the market, so we're trying to get something that will look different. Okay. Every time you have to always do your market research to get something different that will come in. But aside that, we do a lot of facilitation, even across, beyond even Ghana. We do in Rotterdam, and then in China waters, and then in Dubai.
There's one about logistics and trading.
Okay, logistics and trading has 3 climatic areas. Okay, we are into food commodity, and this year we launched our own, registered our own food commodity brand. It's called Levant Foods, because we want to get into the fast-moving commodity market. Because we were doing sugar, rice for a long time, and then we decided no. I wanted an international trade.
You've been importing into the country.
Importing into the country, and also homegrown.
Now, mindful of the fact that the central bank has said it's no longer providing, or it is reducing the provision, or not prioritizing the provision of exchange rate dollars for this importation business.
You see, being an international business person, I look beyond Ghana.
Oh, I see.
So instead of just registering, getting to FDA standards board to register Levant Foods, I chose international trademark. You understand? So if I'm farm, I'm getting Ghana rice from here, I can export it across.
Oh, I see. You don't only import.
No, my focus is to sell Ghana, not to bring this. That's the whole focus of MSc.
Oh, I see.
It's to sell Ghana. It's to create an enabling environment for people to realize that, look, you can have business with Ghana anywhere that we have our offices. You understand? So you don't necessarily, and I'm selling Ghana. What does it mean? Selling Ghana? I'm taking Ghana products out. I've always been an advocate of value addition in the exports that we do. I've always spoken about it, from cocoa even to gold, that we are also a big stakeholder in. I've always advocated that we should have value addition, because it doesn't make any use sending cocoa beans out there and bringing cocoa powder back to come and create chocolate. For what?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing for a while.
For a while. So why
until Ivory Coast
has built, yes, they've built a cocoa processing factory. You understand? So you realize that now, instead of people
with roughly the amount of money we have spent on the cathedral, it sounds interesting.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yes, I get you. I'm not dragging you to it. I'm actually stating that within the same spectrum.
Let's talk about value addition and talk about
Ivory Coast want to do value addition to its cocoa.
Yeah, I'm sure Ghana will also get there.
We will build our own.
I'm sure.
I'm told there's less than 5% of our cocoa that's processed locally. Extremely minimal percentage, isn't it?
Very, 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 very small. Because you see, if we don't take care, all the key places that we talk, like we're first producer of cocoa, topmost in Abidjan, Ivory Coast took over, and we've never been able to recover. We are still second fiddle to Abidjan.
Okay.
Gold, we took over South Africa. Mm-hmm. If we don't take care, we'll lose that spot.
Okay.
You understand? And I always, because I'm in about 6 African countries, I know how the business is there. And I always tell them that, look, Ghana is the most organized place to do gold business. We have well structures. We have the Minerals Commission. We have the PMMC, that's the government mandated ASEA. Mm-hmm. We have so many. You see, in the past, when it comes to gold, in the past, Msc Logistics was not registered to do gold from the beginning.
Yeah.
So with time, we realized that people were coming in. And back in those days, it was only PMMC that was exporting gold. So we all took licenses from PMMC, sub-licenses.
Okay,
PMMC.
so you're a gold exporter too?
I'm a gold trader and exporter.
We'll talk about that, but we're talking about the other things that has to do with value addition. Just briefly before we come to the gold part, because I'm interested in the...
Because you shifted me to the...
the Ivorian...
I don't want to...
the Ivorian cathedral development.
Yeah, I know.
Because as a cathedral, that's without doubt.
Yeah, but that is why I deliberately diverted from...
Oh, I see.
I don't want to...
No, I understand.
I came here to have a 2022 review of business. Already, I've suffered enough losses this year.
Okay.
I'm trying to focus into next year. So
no, it's one of the conversations I want to have with you about losses. Which areas have you had your biggest hits this year?
No, it's like I said, it's a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
So we had less investors coming in.
Oh, okay.
For our main businesses, we work with investor funds.
Okay.
So if the funds are not available and you don't have it now, it's very difficult to get in. Mm. Now we come to government policies and stringent measures in doing stuff, especially when it comes to mining, which we invest a lot. And so when there are issues with mining, it affects our business globally. And cost of import at a point we had to hold on to all our import because the dollar was not being favorable to us.
Okay.
So,
Oh, that's what happened?
Yeah, generally, we need to be fair. As a business person, I'm just saying that this year has been one of our toughest years. And I share the sentiments of most of my colleagues in the industry. We are just hoping that next year will be a better thing. But that's the truth of the matter. This year has been, we barely survived by being able to take care of our staff salaries, pay our taxes, because the PAYE, SNET is very important. No matter what you do, whether you get profit or not, you're supposed to pay your taxes. That one is very standard because that's what the government uses.
At the tail end of this conversation, I want to speak to you about the ease of doing business. What could be done differently? But you mentioned something that's very interesting to me. The thing to do with you being in the gold business. You first mentioned that you not only export. You said you did something.
Yeah, we trade.
You trade in gold.
We trade, like we buy. We have licenses to purchase, and export.
Okay.
You understand? So we've been doing that for, I think, close to almost a decade.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So how is the business?
Well, this year, the gold business has been very, very tough, especially with government policies, with small-scale mining, where they talk about the galamsey. And I always say this. My point is, if we are not able to identify those who pollute the water, okay? Now, let me explain to you. For every gold that is exported, we pay 0.02 as mineral sustainable fees to Minerals Commission. I've always said that if you cannot identify the people, increase the sustainability fees and use the money to reclaim the land and clear the water bodies.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because you see...
so it's almost like polluter pays.
Yes, pre-COVID, okay, there was this issue about, it's always been in the in law that we're supposed to do withholding tax from the small-scale miners. So if I'm buying from you and you're a small-scale miner, I'm supposed to withhold tax and pay to GRA. But don't forget that the gold price is put on by the gold market price.
Okay.
So if you withhold tax, nobody will buy. They will not give you the gold. So eventually, you end
because
up
your
buying,
price will be lower than
a person says
the world prices.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market. They have the gold. Everybody wants to buy. So the demand. So somebody will buy and go and pay. So now, during the COVID period, the government brought a policy that said that no, you're supposed to pay the withholding tax before the gold leaves. And who would you get it from? The exporter. Yeah. So they don't care where you buy it from because your license is purchase, assay, and export. Okay. So now they come to you. So when you present gold to PMMC airport, they calculate the value. Then you have to go and pay the 3% to GRA before they release the gold for export. So the government was now getting revenue before the export. Because after the export, they don't get anything.
What do they do with the money?
Oh, that one, I'm not government. No.
Okay, I get your point, but I was asking this because you are saying that polluters should pay.
No, I'm saying for the sustainability fee. You see, the issue is when water bodies are polluted, we are all affected. You can't say I'm not a miner, I'm sitting somewhere. Look, if it gets to so bad that Ghana Water is not able to treat it, we all suffer. You understand me? So what do? We are blaming the miners, but it's a whole industry. They are stakeholders. You blame the miners when it comes to pollution, but when it comes to the export, you take the sustainability fees, you take export charges and everything.
From the same people?
From the exporter.
Oh, okay.
And the exporter takes the money, they take the good from the miner, but the miner is paid in full.
So I want us to clarify this properly. When you talk about the miners, are we talking about the big companies
or
the small scale?
I'm talking about
companies?
small scale.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this discussion, I'm talking about.
But you've heard that people are demanding. I heard it from the Christian Council. I've also heard other groups saying that forget about small scale mining completely, shut it down. The minister says, no, that part gives us about 40% of our gold, so we should be careful.
Okay, so this is very interesting. The small scale miners, okay, are given small scale licenses, 25 acres. But 90% of the small scale, in fact, 90% of all miners get their funding from outside.
Oh, yeah.
It's from investors. 90%.
So they're not small scale as in small scale?
No, that's I'm talking about in general. But even when narrow it down to the small scale, they have their funding because somebody goes to get a concession, but he doesn't have the money for it. So he needs a sponsor. Even though by law, the foreigners are not supposed to be on the land, they do have funding. So they give you money and they say mine and then send the gold to me at a discount. So they are being funded externally. Do you get it?
I get you.
So when you scrap it, you're going to lose foreign direct investment.
Oh, that's it.
Straight up. You're going to lose. And a lot of
Is it why we're unable to do that?
I don't know. You see, the mining communities employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. But it has to be regulated. That's what you should see. So we have, you see, the small scale miners, they are there. But the method of mining is what pollutes. The kind of machines they use are substandard. Their recovery is about 20%.
But if there's massive investment, why are they not investing in machinery too?
The investment together is massive, but it's
in small bits.
Small bits. Okay. Somebody gives you some $200,000 and tells you, send me gold. Then you go and rent excavators. Those who are doing it massively are able to buy the excavators and give it to them to mine. And there are rental companies who rather bring in the machinery and they rent it to you. So in the long run, the person goes to mine and gets very little. You understand? As revenue, they get very little because cost of production and everything, and they go back. So they don't use the right methods to mine. That's what pollutes the water body. You understand? But if you want to scrap it out, you're going to get people back on the street. There's going to be a lot of agitation because there are people who don't have nothing to do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, their livelihood is dependent on that.
So where do we draw the balance then? Because government is crack down on what it calls illegal mining.
That is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You see, you've given the licenses out. Now you've even opened up something you call community mining. I was of the view that the community mining should have been managed by the government itself. You understand?
It's not.
Yeah, the community mining, they've created some allocation for Ghanaians. I don't see the difference between the community mining and then the small scale.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, even those who have documents to mine doing community mining, they don't even have the machines.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they don't have the machines.
And they have to rely on external people.
I was telling somebody last time, I said, listen, you see the excavators that were seized? The government should have used that for community mining. Rather than leaving the excavators there to rot. You've seized them. It's like they've seized cars.
Yeah.
Let's make use of the cars to benefit us.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
We're told that the law says when you seize the machinery, a court rules on the matter, then gives it to the government. A government institution then assigns to which sector. So we could use it actually.
I'm just saying that instead of leaving it there to rot, right? They should speed it up and give it to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources so that they can mine with it. And it becomes the government doing. So for instance, when you go in as a community miner, you are a government worker. I don't know how you get it. You're a government worker. So when you work, the government pays you. And the proceeds from the gold, they use it to feed the refinery.
Oh, that makes some sense. So that it's not like people are left on their own to manage community mining.
So you see, yeah, exactly. Because
it's almost like government providing jobs on the ground.
On my desk right now, I have almost about 60 applications. People coming in to look for funding to go and they're in community mining. So I asked them, if you know you didn't have the money for community mining, why did you go and take the, because you don't have it. So you now come to an investor who will now put money, hedge the price, then you go and mine. So in the long run, what will you get? But if the government uses this machinery, or the government even acquires machinery, so let's do community mining. This side, we are putting 50 excavators, we are putting this. The people who come and work are government workers.
Yeah.
So the proceed from the mine
goes to the government.
Thank you. And it's simple.
Now, this is interesting. So why are we not doing it that way?
I'm not a government.
Have you suggested to government, because, I mean, of course, businesses engage government. Have you suggested to government?
You know, when we are engaged,
yeah,
we will speak.
So, no,
you managed to bring me out here.
Yes.
And I'm speaking to your audience.
Yes.
Government is part of. So at the end of the day,
hopefully they'll take a cue from it.
We'll take a cue for it. And if they want some of us to come on board, we will come on board and explain. And then we'll see what we can put through.
Have you heard about the initiative called Gold for Oil?
Gold for Oil?
Yes.
It's a very good initiative.
It is government's biggest plot for improving our oil, what they call it, deposits or oil into the country in the coming year. In fact, in January, we are told that we have our first successful transaction happening in January. What do you think about Gold for Oil in principle?
Okay, so first of all, I've read different documents about the Gold for Oil.
Yeah.
And I've spoken on certain platforms. And I've told you that the Gold for Oil is a good initiative. But the question is, are we ready? You see, we don't have to...
Yeah, we are ready. We are going into it next year.
Yeah, I understand.
In January is when we are getting our first batch.
So this is it. It's a very good initiative. But I was of the view that we should dialogue more, get more stakeholder, broaden the stakeholder consultations, so that when we get in, it becomes a national policy, not a party policy.
Well, okay.
What is a national policy? The contract is between the government of Ghana and whoever we are buying from. And this is for 10 years. It's for 10 years. What we have to do, understand it, it's a barter trade. It's a barter system. So we have to make sure that we always have the quantity of gold that is required to do the barter. Because don't forget, when we fall short, there are conditions. The last document I read about it, it said that for the first oil, which we said is coming in January,
yeah,
what it said is coming in January, it's supposed to be prepaid.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's on, when the MPA has a document that has been circulated, it's on our page. They say the first, they put in numbers, volumes of crude, petrol, and diesel that are going to barter for ounces of gold. That's what they put there. And they said for the first purchase, okay, it has to be pre-financed. That means
instead of the gold, we have to pay for it.
No, we are going to pay with gold. So that means gold has to go. Okay. Now, how many ounces of gold are we using for the barter? Do we have enough reserves to be able to bid out for, let's say, a year? You see, when you're going into business, you need to project. For instance, you need to say, okay, this is my source of gold. Because if the government is using the export figures to project, then we are going to be very wrong. The reason is simple. The export figures that we send out there for gold most of the miners have foreign investors. So the foreign investors, those putting the money, it is not we using our own money to work. I'll use myself for an example. I have almost about 50 small-scale miners that we work with. We hedge the gold price. So our clients give us money, we hedge the price, they give us pre-finance, and then we give them a discount.
Okay.
Do you understand? That's the only way you can be able to do good business and do it properly. So imagine our clients are not giving us money again because we are supposed to now sell the gold to government. Now they send us dollars. How do we send their money back to them?
In dollars.
In dollars.
But government is paying in cedis.
Government is paying in cedis at the Bank of Ghana rate. So they will not want to do that kind of investment. So with time, when this thing kickstarts, they will hold their investments. They will look elsewhere. Now those who are already in the system, if we don't take care, they will tend to smuggle. The next moment you'll be hearing that Togo has become world number 3. What mines do they have in Togo? You understand?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we need to watch this thing very well. You understand? For me, it's a very good policy, very good initiative. But let's dialogue more. Let's dialogue more. Let's get more people involved. For instance, we have over 80 licensed exporters. In our last meeting, for instance, none of us knew anything about it. When the government said they've met with stakeholders. But your exporters were not part of the meeting. So who are the exporters form a key role? They have purchase and export licenses. Just 2 weeks ago, we were invited to Minerals Commission, and they asked that they were to announce to us the policy of the government, and for that matter, for 1st January, all exports should cease. And that the government is going to partner with certain people. They have a criteria. You don't announce this at the end of the year. So people have invested, have businesses set up to be exporters, and then how do we tell their staff that from next year we are not going to do any export again?
But that part has not been trumpeted.
No, we just had a meeting. When you brought it up, that is what I'm telling you. We just had a meeting. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago.
With government?
With our regulator. Who's our regulator? Minerals Commission.
Minerals Commission, yes.
And this announcement, meanwhile, all the government machinery, they always said that, oh, they've escaped. For me, it's a good policy. Let's get all on board. You understand me? And I was even advocating, why don't you do it in parallel ways? You start at the same time, we'll be exporting. So let's say, like the way they said, okay, you send 20% to PM. Let it be across board. So that at least we can get foreign investments coming in. Let's work it over a period. Even if it's a 5-year period, then we thin out and say, okay, now all gold goes through PMMC. Secondly, we can also do such a way that, okay, in order to let the refinery at PMMC operational, every gold leaving the country should be assayed or refined to a certain percentage. Let's say 99.9. So that's the value addition.
Okay.
You understand me? The refinery works, it generates income for government, and it goes.
Permit my ignorance. Do we have refineries, big, prominent ones, by Ghanaians in Ghana?
Of course, we have refineries in Ghana.
Apart from the PMMC?
No, PMMC, you see, the PMMC refinery is not owned only by PMMC.
Oh, okay.
PMMC own 20, they have partners.
Okay.
They own, I think, 20% or so. But what I was saying is, even when it comes to that, I've spoken, I think, about 3 years ago. I said that I felt that they should have partnered with the local refinery. You understand it? And the PMMC refinery is big, but you build a refinery, you don't have your source of supply. You need a source of supply before you build your refinery. So if you build a huge capacity refinery, your source is good. Government doesn't own any mine. So if government wants to run the refinery, government can say, okay, all gold leaving the country should be refined at this refinery to, let's say, 99.9, so that the person who receives it at the end will continue with the 999 to make an LMBA certification.
Let me start with the basics of it because it's important people understand what we are talking about here. Now, there are already licensed exporters. You say about 80 of them.
Oh, I think it's even more or less, but I don't have the figure on my head.
Okay. When this gold for oil comes into play, like we are saying next year.
Next, in fact, a couple of days.
Yes, a couple of days from now. Yes, 2028 anyway. Yes. You are saying that all of these people will be driven out of business.
Yeah, that is from what from the meeting we had with the Minerals Commission last week, just before Christmas, and that's when they announced to us that, okay, with the gold for oil, there will be no exports. All gold has to be sold to PMMC. To the government to buy it through PMMC. And if we have an existing contract, we should bring the contract to them for them to review, and they will determine, because if you had an existing contract with a foreign investor, they will determine whether you should continue and allow you to export till your contract elapses. So once your contract elapses, you are not going to get any, you cannot export. Now my question is, majority of people in the gold industry get investment from outside to be able to mine and supply. Mm-hmm. You understand me? So what happens to that? In fact, they come, they pay their taxes and everything. Government gains revenue.
Government receives money from that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, they put in the LOC system, which is it's being checked regularly. So if you export gold and the inflow doesn't come, you are cut off. So there are systems in place. Mm-hmm. Do you get it? So I'm wondering about it. Well, we've petitioned the vice president. We sent a petition, that's the Chamber of Bullion Exporters, that they should take a second look at it. And we are hoping that they'll sit and look at it and then come something in favor. But for now, from our regulator, which is Minerals Commission, they've already stated that they're going to work with a certain criteria. The government are going to partner certain exporters. We cannot export out, so they'll give you money, whether they'll give you money or they give you incentives, but they'll be buying the gold from you at the Bank of Ghana rate.
I see.
Yeah. So that is for now. That is where we are.
Are there expected job losses from this?
Oh, of course, because if you are an exporter and you have, let's say, about 10, you have a metallurgist, because for exporting you need a metallurgist to do the assay, and you've invested in assay equipment. The XRF gun alone is about $45,000. Imagine that you've expanded, you've bought a couple of them, and they just say, no, you cannot do any export. If you don't do assay, if you cannot export, there's no need for you to do an assay. So you're stuck. You have to lay your staff off. You have to look for other. You see, that is one of the reasons why MNC is not only into one business. I've always said that one government policy can kick you out of business.
Interesting. Yes, this is a perfect example of it. Anyway,
one government policy can just kick you out of business. Because if the government decides, okay, I'm buying all gold, you have nothing to do. What business do you have doing outside? You cannot export. That's not it. That's it. And you are stuck. And you are there. You see, one policy, just one policy. But you see, this is a good initiative, but they should bring everybody on board. They should bring all of us on board so that we will not have, because it's a very trying period. So we'll minimize on the job losses.
Okay. Now, if you estimate how many jobs are likely to be lost
a lot.
Across the table?
A lot. Because
is it in the thousands or hundreds?
Oh, it's in the thousands. It's in the thousands. Because you see, it's purchase, assay, and export.
A value chain.
It's a value chain. So we have those who go and source. Mm-hmm. You see, so we have the sourcing group. We have those doing the documentation. Those who've been to school do the metallurgical work. And then it's a whole chain. It's a whole process. And sourcing is not only one area. You go to source for gold, you go across almost all the gold belts. Yeah. So it's a whole value chain. Yeah.
Now, this is interesting because it appears government is in a rush to get this done. Well, can we put it on hold? Because we need the oil. Can we put this on hold and review?
No, you see, that's why I keep saying I'm not government. Maybe what government sees, I don't see it.
Okay,
but I'm a stakeholder when it comes to gold. So for me, I can only extend my voice and plead with government to make it, to hasten. For me, I tell them that let's caution. The word is caution. Let's tread cautiously. Let's get all on board. Because you see, when people lose jobs, there's agitation. So you are bringing something good, but people don't have food on their table. They don't see the value of what you are bringing. I've lost my job because somebody is bringing oil. Then what has that got to do with me? You get the point. So let's take our time. Let's get all in play. And let's be very open and transparent about this whole thing.
Is there a problem with openness
and
transparency?
You hear on the platform, they've engaged all stakeholders. But the Chamber of Bullion Exporters is a key stakeholder. They have purchase, assay, and export, and nobody engaged them. Nobody.
I mean, how is that possible?
Yeah, nobody. Our president is there. You can check the chamber. We only went for the meeting, and at the meeting with our regulator, we were informed that this is the policy that is coming. But we've heard about it in this thing, but we've never been contacted. There's no single letter to the chamber. That is why the chamber petitioned the vice president's office. You understand? So that to see to, because we are partners with government. We are not working against government. We cannot work against government. We are partners with government to make the roadmap work properly. You get me? So at the end of the day, we feel that we've been sidelined, but we play a major key role. All gold that leaves the country is done by exporters. So the exporters play a key role. You understand me? So that's it. We've petitioned the vice president, and we hope to get something.
Is this policy sustainable?
Yeah, it will be sustainable if we have the reserve, if we have enough gold coming in. But when you project, you realize, that's why I said that the first is a butter, gold for oil. We might have
direct exchange.
Yes, because we might have some ounces we bought over the years through aggregators, and then the large scale.
Or Bank of Ghana should have reserves.
No, Bank of Ghana decided to do to buy gold. They started with one. We're about 3 aggregators that were shortlisted, and then KPMG did an audit and assessment. So they started with 1, and later I heard that they were engaging the large scale to give. So we have some ounces of gold. So I'm saying, is it the one that we are reserving to back up our currency that we are going to use for the gold for oil? Then we should have enough, because sustainability is about we having enough. For instance, if you are dealing with Aramco, the government owns the oil. So they have enough, they know they can sign.
Saudi Arabian, what
yes,
they call it.
So they can sign a contract. But the government doesn't own. The government is not going to take. That's good policy to. The government doesn't own its own mines. So maybe when we start with this, maybe we have this thing there. But going forward, we need to put other measures in place to be able to get more. Because if it's a policy signed, let's say for 1 year, I don't think this is, the government wants to do something for just 1 year. I'm thinking the policy will be for maybe a minimum of 5 years. I've not read it, so I don't have authority on that. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, if we don't put measures in place, and we lose that foreign investment that comes into the locals, the private sector, which is supposed to be the engine of growth, when we lose that foreign investment that comes into the private sector to be able to get more gold out, we'll have a problem.
So what you're saying is that a certain investment comes in for the investment in the mining. To get the gold.
Yes.
Then the gold is exported. Then the money then goes to the investor
of
and
course.
Other players in the value chain.
Exactly, you pay taxes and everything.
If government intervenes at this point, that particular amount of money that actually spreads around may be either reduced or completely diminished.
No, but it will diminish with time.
Okay.
Because it will not come in again. Now, because if somebody says, okay, I'm giving you money to supply me gold, you cannot export.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't export. So you might end up selling the gold to this. And the person doesn't want that kind of investment. The person says, I'm selling so that I can, maybe I'm a jeweler in Dubai. Mm-hmm. And I've invested in your mines or in your company that you should be sending me gold. So I have regular supply to do my jewelry. If I know, I would look for another market.
Oh, I see.
So with time, we'll be losing that market. And if you're not careful, we'll lose our spot.
As the number one gold producer.
Yeah.
That's troubling, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to, that is why I said it's a good initiative, but we need to broaden the scope.
Is government considering all of these? When you speak to them,
you know,
do you get the impression from them that they are mindful of all of these difficulties that's likely to come up?
All right, so when we had a meeting with the regulator, we brought these things up. Mm-hmm. And then when we petitioned the vice president, first, this is not the first time we've had interactions with the vice president. Initially, the withholding tax was 3%. Mm-hmm. We engaged government, negotiated, gave them reasons, and they reduced it to 1.5%.
Okay.
So it's a listening government. They will listen. So I'm sure even from your media here, they will listen, and then maybe they'll take a second look at it, and then we'll see if they can do it both at the same time. It will help, but not to just cut off exports just like that. It's going to create a lot of issues.
Now, one question though is, you have been talking about modifying, expanding it, making it better. Some have said, rarely the solution is abandoning it completely. You don't think it's an option?
Abandoning what?
The entire policy of gold for oil.
No, you see, I think that initiative, globally, when the crisis began, it wasn't only Ghana that were buying diesel and petrol at high. Across the world, even in the US, they all suffered it. So if there's a policy that is going to reduce it, that's going to ease the burden on the pockets of the Ghanaian, I think it's a good thing. But we need to take our time so that we don't just get into it and then we realize that, no, we didn't consider this, we didn't consider that, and come back. Let's take our time to go. Because sometimes issues can happen and for you take a drastic decision. Okay, but if you hasten a bit, you realize that, oh, I could have considered A, B, C, D, still implemented the policy, but it is not going to affect other people's pocket. It is going to, in fact, relieve the people. Because what is the policy when you bring in cheap and then people lose their jobs? People lose their livelihood. Where would they buy food?
Is it not a trade-off?
No, so you lose your livelihood, you lose your income.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be home. You lose your job. Then what happens?
Do you get the impression that government is able to estimate that a lot more people will get cheaper fuel, and that to them is more important than the numbers?
No, the government is there to make sure people are able to put food on their table.
Okay.
That is the key. So they create policies not to let people lose their jobs, but they create policies so that the larger country, the larger members will benefit. Mm-hmm. So I don't think government will sit there and say, no, let me create this policy so that these people will lose their job because no, I don't think so. I think the Gold for Oil is a good initiative overall, but let's have more stakeholder consultations and discussions so that in the long run, we'll not say that, oh, these people have lost their job because of this. No.
The deadline really is...
It's a couple of days.
Yes, yes. And I have that in mind because the question I want to ask you about this is, should it be postponed?
No, you see, that's why I said that. That decision doesn't lie with me.
Yeah,
for me,
if you are asked to recommend...
Yeah, for me, if you ask me to recommend, I think we should take our time. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yes, I don't know whether the contract has already been signed. If it's been signed, we can be reviewed. We can start somewhere and work this thing concurrently. Let's do our export. Let's do this thing for gold concurrently. Let's see how. Let's do it for maybe a year or 6 months. Mm-hmm. You know, like so that there will be an exit plan. Let's put things in place properly. But with the abrupt, they say, oh, from January no export. I think it's somewhat a harsh decision, and it's been silent on it. I don't think anybody has said anywhere apart from when we went for the meeting. That's where we headed.
I see.
Yeah. So I think let's just hasten. Let's do this thing concurrently, and then we'll see.
You have businesses in other areas, and you have hope in this country. In fact, for some of the people that know your exploits in the Gulf region, promoting Ghana is a bit much on your mind too. When some of these things happen in your own country to indigenous businesses, what signal does it send to entrepreneurship?
You know, I've always said that entrepreneurship, in fact, I've said this, in that every human being has an element of entrepreneurship in them.
Okay.
It depends on when you're able to tap it. Mm-hmm. But you see, the environment to grow as an entrepreneur is a challenge.
In Ghana?
Yes. It's not only in Ghana, but Ghana mainly. To be a private business person is not an easy task. You understand me? And I've always advocated that the government should create more incentives for the private sector so that we're able to grow and employ more to ease the burden or the dependence on government.
Yeah, which is a big issue.
Yes,
anyway.
I've always said that. But you see, the private sector, we are overtaxed. You don't have any incentives. You have to do everything according to what everybody is doing. And so at the end of the day, what happens? You cripple, you downsize. With time, maybe you employ 10, now it becomes 5. You downsize because there's no incentive, there's nothing coming. Okay, and the ease of doing business. You know, we've always said about, Ghana being the gateway to West Africa, the gateway to West Africa. And sometimes I sit there when I go for seminar, I say, no, you're playing lip service. How long does it take you to register a company in Ghana? Where is
quite a while anyway.
Quite a while. Where's the ease? You cannot sit in your behind your PC and just get this thing done. Now, when you go to GIPC, I've always wondered why we cannot have a registrar general's desk and then an immigration desk at GIPC for our investors, so that it becomes a one-stop shop. The investor comes in, follows the GIPC procedures. Based on the amount of money the investor is bringing in, they have a quota for immigration, residence permit. Registration of company is done there. They get a bank. Straight for a one-stop shop. Now it takes you a month to register a company. Then you go to another institution for what do you call it, immigration, this thing, then go to another institution, it becomes more cumbersome. Where's the ease?
That's interesting.
Yeah, where's the ease?
Yeah, and yet we still mostly say that we are a very good destination for...
Yeah, because we have a lot. You see, I always say Ghana is one of the... When I go and I'm promoting Ghana, I say Ghana is one of the organized places to do business, the safest places to do business. Okay, but the ease is my problem. The ease. The ease of doing the business, the ease of getting the company registered, the ease of getting right strategic partners, the ease of having data to information. Like somebody wants to check. So, okay, I need to go here, I need to go here. Now we've done with the last two decades, we've been able to meet up with our data collection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's more for us to continue to do. There's more to improve on.
Now, there's a question I want to ask about the future. What does the future hold for businesses? 2023.
Brace yourself. That's what I can tell you.
For?
Brace yourself because it's going to be tougher. Yeah, and it's a global thing.
Okay.
So what you experienced in 2022 was a wake-up call because it's already been predicted. Post-COVID, it will take a while for economies to recover. And it's a global thing. So you need to adjust and then check whichever business model that you're going to move into.
How can government help in this process?
How can government? I think government has its policy. Government has also come out. But you see, we have a mindset that once it's not in our pocket, we don't feel it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sometimes you can be doing fintech, you can be doing a lot of things that will ease all these things. But once it's not in the pocket, you don't feel it. That is our Ghanaian mentality. You understand? So, no, things are expensive. But at the end of the day, maybe if the road network is good, the people in the farms will find it more conducive to bringing the food to the marketplaces. You understand me? And government cannot do everything. That's why I said they should ease the pain on the private sector so that we can also come in and support. But I can tell you for a fact that going forward next year is going to be tougher than this year.
Really?
Yeah, so you need to set up.
We all agreed this year was very tough.
It's going to be tougher next year. This year, we didn't expect it.
Okay,
Yeah, because when they gave the forecast for post-COVID, who knew that Russia was going to war with Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, it was...
And up until now, people didn't know that Russia used to supply gas and grains.
Yes.
Of course, they didn't know. You understand? So it's a geopolitical game, so we need to set up. Once we are dependent on foreign direct investment, and we are getting investments coming in, it's going to affect us.
Now, my last question, and it's because of what we discussed about this goal for oil and other things. Do you feel, as a businessman in the Republic of Ghana, that the state thinks about you and acts in your interest?
Come again, I didn't.
As in, this republic, government and its operators, does it think about businesses? Does it act in the interest of businesses?
Oh yeah, I think the government acts in the interest of businesses. Maybe not the 100% that we expect, but to some extent in private sector, which I hope, I'm advocating that they should do more. You see, private sector is your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, government, we are partnering government.
In fact, we used to call the engine of growth.
Yeah, we are not working against government. We want to drive government policies. I want to go somewhere and tell them that, look, my government, this and this is what they're doing. And the assisting the private sector, we are doing this and we are moving. So when you come in, you are safe. I want to go out there to say, but the government cannot do everything for everybody. You cannot come everybody 100%.
Okay.
Understand me? But I think they're doing quite well.
We're wrapping up the conversation. I want to take final words from you. Maybe encouragement to younger entrepreneurs, those who really want to brace the storm and get into that particular area.
Yeah, but my words to young entrepreneurs, never give up. Keep believing in your dreams and daily improve upon yourself. Don't compare yourself to anybody. Compare your vision. Look out for what others are doing and what you can do better. Don't just be a copycat. You understand? Be innovative. For instance, I was explaining to him, one government policy can kick you out. But when you have multiple businesses, when this one is off, you can go on the other one. So always leverage on the space and watch the kind of company you keep. And that's going to give you the engine of growth.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Leslie Bartlett-Vanderpuye is the group chairman of Msc Global. I am grateful that you joined us today. We should talk more.
You brought me out of...
Yes, we should be able to consistently engage on how businesses are doing. It should not only be end of year reviews and then
You can do it quarterly.
Okay, maybe you do quarterly reviews anyway. But thank you so much for joining us in today's edition of Upfront. And many thanks to you out there also for being part of the show. And tomorrow we'll come here with another edition.